Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we're all good. And try to keep the answers relatively short, or how long do they want this interview to be?
전체 영상의 길이가 얼마였으면 좋겠으면 질문 답변이 짧았으면 좋겠냐, 길었으면 좋겠냐 보시나요?
짧은 게 나아요. 왜냐면 저희 릴스나 쇼츠로 쓸 거거든요.
So this will be like for like a short promotional video, so it doesn't need to be long.
So try and keep it short, you know.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, we're going to begin right away.
Yeah.
So Robin, thank you for taking your time to speak with us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Before we move on to the questions, do you have a short message for the Korean leaders who love your book?
My message would be, I hope you enjoy the book. It is a difficult and maybe sad subject to talk about a new Cold War, but I think it is important to be clear about the world we're in, because then we can help come up with good answers to deal with it. And I'm very excited to have it published in South Korea, which is a country like Britain that's on the front line of the new Cold War.
Thank you. And you have spoken a great deal about the Korean government and the Korean policy before. So is there anything you think is lacking in the Korean government's overall foreign policy?
I don't think there is anything lacking yet. The problem is that a country like Korea can't choose its own future. Its future is being determined by the great contest between the two biggest, strongest powers in the world, the United States and China. And waking up to that reality is very difficult, especially in a democracy. Because in democratic countries, it means that the governments will have to make difficult choices. It may make the economic progress a little slower. It'll mean spending maybe more on defense. It'll mean not being able to invest as much in some of the social welfare that electors and voters want. So I think that when I think about the South Korean government at the moment, I feel it is still adjusting to this new reality. And I hope that the domestic political divisions that exist inside South Korea, like any country, any democracy, don't prevent it from coming up with the best foreign policy decisions.
Thank you. So South Korea will elect its next president in 2027. So it's a bit of a long shot, but what should the next president be the most worried about in foreign affairs in relation to China and the United States?
The biggest risk for a future South Korean president is that the new US president, who will have been elected and started in power in January 2025, loses control of the US-China contest. In my opinion, the Biden administration has taken a very good approach towards China. It is realistic. It recognizes that this is a structural competition, as I describe in my book. But importantly, rather than obsessing about China, it is focused on building up strong relations with its allies. America with strong allies creates an environment in which China can grow and continue to pursue its own national interests without destabilizing the international environment. If the new Korean president comes into power with strengthening US alliances, then the choices for that president will be clear to join that alliance. But if the new US president does not believe in strong alliances, which is probably where a President Trump would be in his instincts, then the challenges for the new Korean president will be much more difficult. In particular, can South Korea retain a strong relationship with Japan, which is very contentious within South Korea, but is critically important for managing the new Cold War? Can a new South Korean president find allies as well further away, Australia, Europe, which will also be important to compensate if America is not playing a leadership role. So yeah, in a way, 2027 will depend on 2024.
And as you have been talking about, the United States is facing a presidential election. What are the good opportunities for South Korea depending on whoever gets elected?
The good opportunities are to help America deepen a community of countries that are linked by strong democratic values, by belief in the rule of law, accountable, transparent government, that they are, South Korea is itself a partner in building that community. And I think that would be the best opportunity that it could face in the future. The risks, obviously, is that maybe that community is not emerging. But if we're looking for opportunities, I think the opportunity number one is to be part of building this community of resilient democracies, ideally contributing through the G7. Also, I think, reorientating South Korea's economy while still being engaged with the Chinese economy, which is your neighbor and hugely important, to be looking at the opportunities in Southeast Asia, in India, trying to diversify South Korea's economy in ways that will make it more resilient for the new Cold War.
There is rising support among South Koreans to acquire nuclear weapons. What do you think will happen if this becomes the official position of the South Korean government?
If it becomes the official position of the South Korean government, it will imply that the South Korean people and its leaders have lost trust in the US extended nuclear deterrent. I personally am a believer that nuclear weapons have helped keep the peace in a contentious world. They've kept the peace despite only very few countries having nuclear weapons, because people have believed in the extended nuclear deterrence that America offers. If the Korean people have chosen to go for nuclear weapons, it will mean that something very bad has happened in US foreign policy. In that case, I think what South Korea needs to understand is if it goes for nuclear weapons, so will Japan. It may mean that Japan went first and South Korea followed. My big worry would be what that means for the future of Taiwan. Can Taiwan rely on American extended security guarantees, at least, should we say? But I would hope that it would mean that South Korea would be a very responsible partner in then nuclear arms control agreements and nuclear transparency. The biggest risk about the spread of nuclear weapons is the lack of transparency. Command and control, non-escalation, non-proliferation. There is a whole infrastructure around being a nuclear weapon state that the South Korean government and people would have to think through very carefully first before taking such a momentous decision.
Thank you for sharing your insights, Sir Robin. This concludes our interview, and you can see the
Yeah.
full video on social media. Thank you.
Thank you. And also with holding books
Yeah.
and really casual, maybe 2 or 3 sentence introducing.
About what the book is,
yeah.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
I'm Robin Niblett. This is my new book out in South Korea on the new Cold War, how the US... Let me start again.
Take your time.
Title.
Yeah. Don't care.
We're going. Hi, I'm Robin Niblett. This is my new book, The New Cold War, how the contest between the US and China will shape our century. As the title says, it's a big topic, but I think critically important for everyone, not just experts in international affairs, to think about. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.